Hello, in this video I have a game to show you in my Kuma, which if you've been around my channel for a while you might know as my favourite ship in World of Warships. It's just a very flexible ship that you can do well in any situation. But I know that, and that's actually a disadvantage to me because it means that I tend to play this ship far too aggressively. It's the same problem I had in my Wyoming, which I also knew was a powerful ship. And they're just ships where I kind of go forwards, encounter 6 or 7 enemy ships, and go, yeah, I can deal with this. Even though really the ships are good, but they're not that good. You can kind of see me doing it here a bit. I've gone off on the far southwest on the Solar Nines map, and the nearest allied ship is about, let's say, 6 kilometers behind me, which is to say I'm basically going alone. And I don't care, full speed ahead, and let's just see what I encounter. And there we have it. First enemy ship we've spotted is a Myogi class battleship. Well, a battle cruiser, but we'll ignore that. It looks like it's a fellow New Zealander, which means that I'm just going to try and kill it even harder. Oh, and good for me, its guns are pointing in the wrong direction. Let's fire off my first broadside, and I'm detected, not surprising. Looking good. 4 hits, 2000 damage. Just the damage per minute of the Kuma is actually pretty phenomenal with its high explosive shells. But I switch fire to a Phoenix which is coming at me. I actually find it hard to articulate why I switched focus to the Kuma here. The Myogi's the easier target to hit, and theoretically at least the Myogi is the larger threat to me, but at the time the Myogi was going away from me, the Phoenix was coming towards me. I kind of just thought that the Phoenix was actually the threat in this situation. I wanted to drive it off, and you see I've done that pretty successfully so far. It's gone broadside onto me, which is now going to get 1 hit, while I'm turning and running away, which enables me to avoid getting hit at all. But unfortunately the Phoenix is about as manoeuvrable as the Kuma, so we basically just fire at each other at pretty near maximum range for a long time without hitting each other. But essentially, I've actually done the smart thing for a change, and I'm actually pulling back to join my battleship that was following up, well, 6 or so kilometers behind me. And then about 6 or so kilometers behind it is another battleship and a cruiser. So, instead of doing my usual insanely aggressive thing, I'm going back and getting the help of my team. And oh, the Phoenix is shooting at somebody else. Actually, a friendly Clemson class destroyer has charged straight through the middle of the map and is now closing on the Phoenix with a enemy Izyaslav on its tail. So that's very brave, Clemson, but probably not wise. I'll manage to get another hit on the Phoenix. So far I've done, well, I've got 2 hits on it, it's got no hits on me. So I think I've won this engagement, and the Wyoming comes around the corner, launches a broadside, and does a little bit of damage. And those torpedoes from the Clemson miss. Oh, and here comes some dive bombers. I've set my fighter up in the air. The Kuma is the only tier 4 ship, or the only tier 4 cruiser that gets a float fighter plane, which theoretically makes it very powerful, but my fighter plane has a tendency to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you see it's only just arrived at the dive bombers now, well after they've dropped their bombs. But that's kind of okay. Bombers look like they're about to escape though, which is a shame, but well, the Kuma's got weak anti-aircraft guns, so you don't really get a lot of aircraft kills that way. But because it's got a fighter plane, it actually, you could argue that it's one of the most powerful anti-aircraft platforms at this tier, just because it's the only one that can actually cause the spread that enemy torpedoes get, or enemy torpedo bombers get when they come under heavy fire. And yes, I took my first damage. That Izyaslav firing out with the smoke managed to get a hit on me, but it's done a bit of damage to it as well. And firing away at those torpedo bombers. Didn't actually realise they were trying to torpedo me, but easy dodge. I managed to shoot one of them down just after they launched their torpedoes. And my fighter plane, again it was in the wrong place, but it arrives just after they dropped their torpedoes. which means it's going to actually be effectively pinning those bombers down within my anti-aircraft fire zone. But we're dealing with the Izyaslav for now. I've done a few bit of damage to me, but it's well within its torpedo range of 5 kilometers, which means that I start turning into it. But it seems that the Izyaslav predicted my move and fired its second volley of torpedoes basically straight at me, which means I have to then turn broadside on and then swing my tail around to avoid its torpedoes. I should say stern. I'm a boat. But anyway, all that has brought me to within a few kilometers of the enemy Bogue. Now the Bogue's a very slow aircraft carrier, and, well, it doesn't have much in the way of secondary armament, so it's basically dead. There's nothing to do at this point. And, well, I get a couple of Citadel hits anyway to finish it off. I managed to shoot down an aircraft there, but I've got my anti-aircraft guns focused on these fighters directly ahead of me. Again, my float plane is in the wrong place, but it'll get there soon enough. And watch this Clemson in front of me. It's the one that went straight through the centre, and it just got torn in half by a shell from that Myogi up there. And that is the Myogi I was firing at right at the start of the match. It kind of spends the whole game kind of hanging around my maximum firing range. I'm assuming that's just coincidental, but I do a bit of damage to it. I've done a little bit so far, I'll do a little bit more in the future. I'll shot down another aircraft, that's up to 4. These are only tier 4 aircraft. Actually, they might be tier 5. They might be from the Bogue. I think they're probably just tier 4 though. But even though they're the same tier as me, still shooting down a few of them is actually pretty impressive in this ship. As I say, it doesn't really get a lot in the way of anti-aircraft guns. But again, in that situation, my float plane went and basically pinned the fighters down within my AA fire, enabled my AA guns to get a few kills there. I decided to ignore the Myogi and fire at the Wyoming. The Wyoming's just an easier target because it's broadside on and it's slower. And because I'm a Kuma, I get the Japanese high explosive shells that have a 10% chance of starting fires. So of course, I start a fire. Well, not of course. I very likely started a fire, and I did. A very high chance of doing it. And again, I'm just doing a lot of damage to this Wyoming with every broadside. I put my fire out, but, well, started another one, but I was able to put that one out again. And it looks like it's trying to swing its guns around to me. Start another fire, but again it goes straight out. And then I start swinging my ship a bit to try and dodge these shots, and yep, they mostly go over me. And there we go, there's a solid fire. But it's only got a few thousand, well, less than 2,000 hit points. Fire off a broadside, I know the fire's going to kill it, so I ignore it. And there it's dead, my shells managed to finish it off. And here's the Langley, the other enemy aircraft carrier. I'm actually not really focusing on the Langley at the moment, I'm just shooting it because it's here. I'm actually really just trying to get out of the cap circle because I do not want to win by capturing an enemy base. I want to sink all the enemy ships. My team's got a pretty solid lead and I'm pretty confident in our ability to win this one. And yep, there goes the Langley, my third kill of this game. And all I've got to do now is kill a cruiser and I've managed to sink one of every class. Which unfortunately isn't a medal or an achievement in any way, it's just something cool. 3 enemy ships left. There's that Myogi from earlier, St. Louis up by it, and a destroyer somewhere, and these torpedo bombers look like they might be coming at me. Well, I think they are coming at me. Okay, I'll just turn into them, and they fly ahead of me. And then they suddenly turn at me. I assume they're firing torpedoes at me there, so I start turning. See, they actually dropped torpedoes well before they did that little turn thing. Easily dodge the torpedoes and shoot one of them down for their trouble. Which brings me up to 8 aircraft kills. Which, actually, you've got to be pretty happy with in any tier 4 cruiser. Fire away at the Myogi. It's a bit easier to hit than the St. Louis, and it's also the one my team's firing at. It's always good to focus fire. It sends 2 shells my way, but they both miss. Which is good because, of course, it's firing 14-inch shells at me, and I'm firing, well, what would they be, about 5.5-inch shells back at it. So, definitely don't want to get hit by one of those things. Oh, and there's the destroyer, it's Kamikaze R. Which is a pretty powerful destroyer, but I don't fire at it just yet because I think the island's probably just obstructing my shot a bit too much. But it's got a bit of separation between us and the island, so I feel I can shoot at it now. do 2,000 damage, which is pretty significant on the destroyer. And again, a few more hits, another 700 damage. And it's hidden in the smoke, but I have a pretty good idea of where it is, so I fire off a few more shots. And then go back to shooting at the Myogi. And well, you have to assume the kamikaze is just going to hide in the smoke there. But I'm actually pretty confident of being able to... Oh, the Myogi's dead. Now that I've cleared that island, I'll basically turn straight into the smoke. And I'm also about to turn on my hydroacoustic search ability. And this is the one situation where this ability actually, or this consumable I should say, actually comes in handy. And I don't actually get in this situation very often, but enables me to spot that kamikaze probably about 700 meters or so earlier than I would have otherwise. And just gives me a chance to put in a few broadsides and see how it's maneuvering. And I'm actually turning hard into it because I'm assuming it's about to fire torpedoes at me. And I sink it, and yep, here come the torpedoes. But because I was turning before they were fired, or as they were fired, I'm actually able to just avoid them, even though they were fired at very short range. And that was my 4th kill. So now I'm just going to kill the St. Louis to get my Kraken Unleashed medal, and also kill one of every ship in the game. Actually, at this point, the biggest risk is that the 2 ships behind me are actually capturing the base, and they might do so before I kill this St. Louis. Luckily for me though, Allied battleship puts a big hit in. I set it on fire, no I don't, I do a bit of damage and knock out one of its guns, leave it on 1,000 hit points, and there I started firing. That fire will eventually kill it. But my allies were all shooting as well, and, well, I got the kill. Fortunately, no result screens here because I forgot to save a copy of them, and now they are lost forever. But you got to see the main things. I got a lot of hits on the enemy. I got the Kraken Unleashed medal, managed to sink 1 of every ship, shot down 8 enemy aircraft, and basically managed to sail almost the entire way around the map, had at least a decent go at sinking a number of enemy ships, and took maybe a few hundred damage. I was never actually seriously threatened in that game. Oh, there were a couple of occasions where torpedoes came close, but they didn't hit, and the Kuma's got enough hit points so that it can take a torpedo or two without really jeopardising its ability to continue to fight. So yeah, that's kind of why I like the Kuma. It's just so well balanced. It's got decent firepower, decent speed, decent agility. Doesn't have armour, that's the one big downside of it. And as you saw in that video, it's actually got decent anti-aircraft guns, especially when you use your fighter plane. So it's just a really awesome ship, and I really think it should actually be 1 tier higher than it is. But I'm not going to say that too loud, at least for now. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.